So a band releases their first album. It either did really well or not so much. But the question still remains, how will the band follow it up? Welcome to our CD Showcase, I'm Bryer, and today I'm going to be talking about the Sophomore album, or the second album in other words. And I'm going to be going through some of these albums and see if they did better, just as good, or worse than the first album. So a funny thing about the preparation for this video, I originally had a much bigger list planned. I think I had like 48 albums listed, but at the very last minute I decided to take some albums off because apparently I have more sophomores than I do debuts. So because of that, I don't own some debut albums, and I don't think it'll be fair because I really want to judge the first album from the second, and because I don't have the debuts, it probably, again, like I said, it wouldn't be fair. So unfortunately, we're not going to be talking about, Desperado by the Eagles, Mirage by Camel, and definitely not Dark Throne, A Blaze in the Northern Sky. But the good news is that I truncated the list to an even 30, so this video won't be as long as I thought it was going to be. So without further ado, let's get this video started. But before I do, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let's do it. So starting off the list, we're going to be starting with Aerosmith, and I have their second album, Get Your Wing. So comparing this album from their debut, I definitely think this is a big step up from the last one. Again, the band weren't very sure when they were recording their debut, but by the time they got to this one, they kind of are a bit more confident with themselves, and they have a different producer, and I think it really shows the progression that this band does. I mean, Steven Tyler is starting to really develop that iconic voice that we know from him, and so yeah, this is definitely a much better album than the debut in my opinion. Okay, next up we have Bad Company with Straight Shooter. This was actually really tough because I do enjoy both the debut and this one, of course, but I'm gonna really, this could be a coin toss between which is better, but I think I prefer the debut just slightly above this one. But again, that's not a bad thing. I still think this is still a terrific album, but the debut for me is still stronger. But again, nothing wrong with this one, of course. Okay, up next we have The Band with their self-titled, which is kind of funny because normally the debut is a self-titled album, but here they decided to name the second one after, The Band. But yeah, again, similar thing with the Bad Company choice, and because both albums are still very strong, but I think I prefer this one than their debut, just slightly, because I think I prefer a lot of the songs on this one, because, it has Across the Great Divide, Rag Mama Rag, The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, Up on Cripple Creek, The Unfaithful Servant, Whispering Pines. I mean, just so many great songs on here that I think are just slightly better than their first album. But again, this is just my opinion. All right, Black Sabbath, Paranoid. Okay, this is a monster album. I mean, probably the most important album in metal, of course. Again, another tough choice, but I think, because I don't know, because there's two parts of me. One part of me prefers the debut because I like the slightly more raw approach to it. But this album has a lot of iconic songs on it. I mean, this has Paranoid, of course, War Pigs, Iron Man, Hand of Doom, Berries Wear Boots. I mean, it's a tough one. This could be a toss-up. I think for now, I'm gonna go with this one for now, but this could change daily. I could say the debut the next day, so I don't know. Comment below what your opinions are. Okay, next up, Blue Oyster Cults. This is Tyranny and Mutation. Great follow-up. I think I slightly prefer the debut, but again, nothing to take away from this one. It's still pretty good. I think it's slightly heavier than the debut, I think. But yeah, I think I prefer the debut a little bit more. I think it's because I listened to the debut a bit more, but I still listen to this one quite frequently. So yeah, very good one. Okay, Bayou Country by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Yeah, another great album. I did a ranking video on their discography. I'll leave a link in the description so you can go check it out. And I ranked this pretty highly, I think. I can't even remember where I ranked it, but regardless, still a terrific album. So yeah, I think this is better than the debut. I think much stronger songs, less covers on it, and more of John's more original music. I mean, this has some standout tracks like Born on the Bayou, Proud Mary, Keep on Shuggling. Yeah, definitely a big step up from the debut. Okay, Deep Purple. We have The Book of Taliesin. I hope I said that right. I think this is the first one we're talking about where not only is this not as good as the debut, I personally don't think it's very... I wouldn't say it's terrible. That's probably too harsh, but definitely comparing this to the debut, this is a kind of a little bit of a step down in my opinion. There's still some decent songs on here, but to me the songs aren't as memorable as the stuff on the debut. And another thing, this album I think has more covers than the debut, surprisingly, and I don't think some of the covers land. Like, I mean, they do a cover of River Deep Mountain High, I mean, which is fine, but it's nowhere near as good as the Tina Turner version, obviously. But yeah, perhaps slightly a step down from the debut, I think, but it's okay. Def Leppard, High and Dry. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. I prefer this one than the debut. Again, the debut is pretty good. I've listened to it a couple times recently, and I enjoy the debut, but yeah, I think they really were starting to get that classic sound by the time they got to here. Yeah, it just sounds like they are more polished than the last one. So yeah, I prefer this one. Okay, Foreigner with Double Vision. Slightly not as tough one now that I think about it. But yeah, I prefer this one than the debut. A lot more go-to songs that I prefer. I mean, Hot Blooded, Blue Monday, Blue Morning, Blue Day. Sorry about that. The title track, of course, Spellbinder, Lonely Child. Yeah, very good stuff here. But again, the debut is still pretty good though. Right, I recently did a video on this band, and surprisingly that video has gotten very popular. I'm very happy about that. But we're going back to Genesis once again with Trespass, and come on, you already know the answer. Of course this is better than the debut. I mean, this is when they were really starting to go with that more progressive rock sound that we know and love. So no question, this is better than the debut. Okay, Iron Maiden Killers. Again, very tough one because both the first and this one, of course, are still very strong. But I think by the time they got to this one, they were really perfected that Iron Maiden sound that we know. And this will be the last one to feature Paul Dano on vocals. And I think this is a good send off for him, I think. So very close, but I'm gonna go with this one. Okay, I think I talked about this one recently too. I swear I have a wide taste, I swear. But yeah, back to Joy Division once again with Closer. Again, I love this album, but I'm gonna go with the debut because this one took me a bit longer to fully get, because it's a lot more experimental than the first album. But once it clicks, it really clicked for me, because once I got past the production and the more experimentation, I realized just what a terrific album this is. But if I'm gonna be honest, like if I'm just gonna pick between this one and Unknown Pleasures, I'm gonna pick Unknown Pleasures, of course. So again, nothing wrong with this one, but for me, the Unknown Pleasures gets a vote for me. Okay, up next we have Judas Priest with Sad Wings of Destiny. I talked about this one recently, I think, in a previous video. Yeah, this is no-brainer. Leagues better than the debut. I enjoyed the debut for what it is. It's more bluesy, but not quite the heavy metal Judas Priest that, of course, we know. And here they definitely expanded upon the debut and finally found a very more original sound that, I mean, Rob Halford is just shrieking up a storm on this one, which sounds amazing. So yeah, this gets my vote. All right, Kansas with Song for America. I always think it's Songs for some reason, but regardless, yeah, very good debut. Very good follow-up from the debut. I think I prefer this one than the debut. Again, I really enjoy the debut, but by the time they get to this one, they kind of are moving more into that progressive rock sound, and for me, it kind of works a little bit better. Standout tracks would be Down the Road, of course, the title track, which is great. Lamplight Symphony, Lonely Street. I hope I said this right. Camudro. I probably butchered that. I'm sorry, but you know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, this gets my votes just by a hair. Okay, next, Linkin Park. Of course, following up their debut, Hybrid Theory. I enjoyed Hybrid Theory, but for me, this one kind of has more of an emotional attachment to this particular one because some of the songs I've heard for many years, like songs like Breaking the Habit, Numb, Somewhere Where I Belong, Fate. I mean, these songs on this one, they've been with me for as long as I can remember, more so than the songs on the debut. So that's kind of why I prefer this one than the debut, but the debut is pretty good too. Okay, we have Ride the Lightning by Metallica. This is my favorite Metallica album, so of course I'm gonna say this one. Enough said. I mean, to me the songs are much more polished, but they still have that thrash element that they're known for. But yeah, this is when they're starting to kind of expand their sound a bit, and it really works really good. And they would even go even further when they get to Master of Puppets. But for me, this has always been my favorite Metallica album. Okay, I think we're over halfway, so I wasn't keeping track. So again, I'm assuming we're halfway. So next up, we're going with the Monkees. More of the Monkees. Yeah, I prefer this one. I think the songs are a bit more memorable than on the debut. This song has She, When Love Comes Knocking at Your Door, Mary Mary, I'm Not Your Stepping Stone, and it has the pretty underrated song Sometime in the Morning I enjoy. That's probably one of my favorite songs on this album. And of course it has I'm a Believer on it, which is their most endearing classic. So yeah, I prefer this one. Okay, Phil Collins up next with Hello, I Must Be Going. I think I prefer the debut than this one, because the debut has more songs I feel are a bit more memorable than the ones on here. There's still some standout tracks on here. It even says so on the cover. It has I Don't Care Anymore and You Can't Hurry Love, which is a Supremes cover. But other than that, aside from maybe I Can't Believe It's True, there's really not many other songs that I remember on this album. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the debut for Phil Collins. Okay, next up we have Pink Floyd, A Saucer Full of Secrets. I think same thing. I think I prefer A Piper at the Gates of Dawn more than this one. I probably need to spend more time with this one, but this is kind of more in the psychedelic, that psychedelic field. And for me, it doesn't always stick with me. It doesn't sound terrible, but for me, the songs on Piper are much more memorable than on this one. Probably the only real standouts are Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun, Let There Be More Lights, and Jug Band Blues. And other than that, can't really tell you how the other songs go. Again, it could be because I need to listen to it more, but for Pink Floyd, I'm gonna go with their debut then for this one. Okay, Police, again, same thing. I did a ranking video on that. I'll do the same thing. I'll leave a link in the description so you go check it out. But here we have their second album, Regard de Blanc. Gonna go with the debut. And this could be controversial, but I personally think this album is slightly overrated. Of course, it has Message in a Bottle, which is I love that song. But everything else, and also Walking on the Moon is also really good. But other than those two songs, everything is kind of like cool. I like them, to just don't really remember them very much. Again, that could be very controversial. But for me, I'm gonna go with their first album, then this one. Okay, next we have Queen with Queen 2. I mean, this is one of my top 3 favorite Queen albums, and of course with the iconic album cover, one of my favorite album covers of all time. And you know, depends how you feel. Some people might say the debu's better, some people say this one's better. For me, I'm gonna go with this one because again, I like the prog elements that they put in this album. It sounds really cool. I mean, has White Queen, Ogre Battle, Fairy Feller's Masterstroke, March of the Black Queen, Seven Seas of Rye. Yeah, this one gets my vote, but the debut is still very good. Okay, Rush, Fly By Night. Okay, I don't really want to say which one I prefer because I really want to save it for my ranking video, which again still coming. But I will say that I think if you were to ask me a year ago, I might have said I might have said this album, but thinking through it now recently, I think the debut might edge this one just slightly, which could be a controversial take, but I don't know. I probably need to re-listen to this one again, but we'll see. Nothing definitive right now. Alright, so next up we have Styx, and we're going to be referring back to this collection, which has their first 4 albums on 2 CDs. And so I'm going to be talking about Styx 2, which I will pull out the booklet because it has the album cover in it. Luckily, I flipped right to it, so that's the album cover right there. Very plain, but you know, it's whatever. I think, without a doubt, the second one's definitely better than the debut. I mean, the debu's fine for what it is. Again, like a lot of debuts, it was just the band trying to figure out their sound. But I think when they got the 6.2s, I think they got closer to that Styx sound that we know. Of course, it has the big hit Lady, of course. But all the other songs are still pretty good. I mean, You Need Love, A Day, you Better Ask, Father OSA, Earl of Roseland. Yeah, I think it's a very strong album. So I think Styx 2 is definitely better than their first album. So, put these back. Now we keep moving. Let me just count how many we have left to go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more to go. Okay, next up, we have Tool with Enema. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. I've had this album for a long time, and this was tough, not because both albums are great, and it's actually because I'm not entirely sold on the first and this one. I love Lateralis, but this one and Undertow, which is their first, if you're unaware, I still need to listen to them because they haven't really clicked for me yet. But as of now, I think I'm gonna go with Undertow for now. Again, it could change, but for right now, I'll go with the debut for this one. Again, I'm not saying this one's bad, but again, I probably need more time on this. So after Tool, we're going to Uriah Heep next, and this is their second album, Salisbury. And my vote goes for this one right here. I think the songs here are a little bit stronger than the debut. Again, the debut is good, but this one here, like, it has Bird of Prey, which is a killer opening track. Of course, it has The Park and Lady in Black, which is one of their probably the most well-known songs to some. High Priestess, and then it finishes off with the big epic track Salisbury, which is just like I said, it's epic. I mean, the vocals on it are stellar, the guitar work is amazing, and it even has a symphony orchestra playing in the back, which I think fits well into the song. So yeah, I'm going with Salisbury, but again, debute's pretty good. It's decent. Van Halen 2, chorus by Van Halen. This was, again, tough one because both of them are very strong. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the first album because, yeah, I mean, that's always been, I mean, currently that's my favorite Van Halen album. Again, this album's still very good, but again, the debut is just a bit more special, in my opinion. But yeah, still very good though. All right, this next one, I might be censoring this because I don't want to risk YouTube taking this video down because of, you know, inappropriate images. So I'm gonna cover it up with my hand. So I apologize if you don't like that. But we have Whitesnake, and this is their second album, Love Hunter. You can tell why I'm covering it up, but yeah, it was kind of tough one because, you know, I think the debut and this one sound very similar, but I think, again, by hair, I'm gonna go with this one. I think the songs here are a bit more memorable than the debut, but they are both very in that blues rock, hard rock field, which sounds very good for the time. But again, the songs on here are just slightly more memorable. So that my vote goes for the second album. Okay, just 3 more to go. Next up, we got Whitney Houston. And of course, this is her second album, Whitney. Yeah, this one's better. I prefer this one than her debut. Again, her debut is pretty good, but I think the songs here are just I mean, a lot of these songs are just classics. Of course, you have the first song, which is I Want to Dance with Somebody. All the other songs here are very good. Just The Lonely, Talking Again. Didn't We Almost Have It All, So Emotional, Where Are You? For the Love of You, Where Do Broken Hearts Go, which are ballads, but you know, I like ballads. But yeah, the songs here are, for me, are just more, they have a kick to them, if you will, than the debut. So yeah, I'm going with this one. Okay, I might have to censor this one as well. So I don't know how I'm going to hold this. All right, so next up we have Yes, and this is their second album, Time and a Word. All right, this probably has their first like hit? Question mark. I don't know how big this was in the UK, but the title track is probably their first like anthem in a sense. But other than that, the other songs here are still pretty good. So deciding which one I prefer, the debut or this, I'm still gonna stick with the debut. I think that I've listened to the debut way more than this one. This is still pretty good. It does have an orchestra playing on this one, and to me, the orchestra on this album don't work as well. I know they would do this again like way later, but you know, but that's hopefully for a later date. Excuse me, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the debut. But you know, this is still okay. And to finally finish this off, we're going with ZZ Top with their second album, Rio Grande Mud. Quite an interesting title and a cover for that matter. Again, something I said this earlier, but if you were to ask me a couple months ago, I would have said the debut. But in preparation for this video, I actually had not heard this album proper until, you know, recently. And I was actually very impressed with this album. I actually am going to go with this one, surprisingly. Some of you might disagree, it's okay. But yeah, I think the guitar work is much stronger, and the riffs are much more memorable. And you know, I like Billy's vocals on this one more than the debut. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the second album, surprisingly. So there you have it. So that is 30 sophomore albums reviewed. Again, in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on these albums. Do you think these bands did better on the second go? Did they do just as good? Or did they actually do worse? Again, comment below your thoughts. I know I missed a ton of iconic ones. I know I didn't talk about Led Zeppelin because, shockingly, I don't have Led Zeppelin 2. I also didn't talk about Gentle Giant because I don't have the debut album. I didn't talk about Wham because I don't have their debut. But, you know, who knows? Maybe in the future we'll do a part 2. But until then, if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like. Subscribe if you're new. Just real quick, I do want to give a thank you to all the new subscribers I've gotten recently. And my past few videos have done actually really well. So I'm very grateful for that. Getting more comments, which is also very great. I really do appreciate that as well. And so let's keep this growth going. Okay, we're almost to 100, which is the goal. Last time I checked, we're at 69. Sorry, I'm a kid. But anyway, again, thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye for now.